Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for a back and bicep day. And decided today that I wanted to go a little heavier on the back work. Let's get some progression here. So I went ahead and went up to a 45-pound plate on the pull-ups. Actually felt pretty good. I got 5, and then 6. Felt like my back's actually looking pretty decent here. So what I'm doing with all of this stuff, and I'll discuss a little bit in here, I think I'm going to drop the second bicep day. When I look at things, as much as I'm like, my arms, my biceps need the most work, they're the most neglected, I'm training them really, really hard. And I've had multiple bodybuilders tell me at this point, dude, just get leaner and bring up your shoulders and you'll actually be really in a good spot. Like, just get those delts popping. Which is, again, they're like, you've even said the same thing about shoulders and aesthetics. Get those side delts, rear delts, upper traps, all that just filled out. You'll be in a good place. And so I think for my 6th day every week, I'm going to do a shoulder day. Now, that kind of throws off my rotation this week because, again, I threw back in bicep here. It should probably be Thursday so I can do a shoulder here and then a shoulder again Saturday. Would probably be the best spacing. So we'll get over and talk about the rest of this in here, but I've also realized as long as I hit biceps and triceps really hard for a good amount of volume on the other 2 days, it should be good, because all the shoulder work, what have I said before with videos on shoulder work? It all has splash over. Like, if you are literally doing compounds and isolations for all the heads of the shoulders, all the heads of the delts, what happens? Does it work your chest, your triceps, your biceps? Yeah, they all get secondary stress. It will re-spark the protein synthesis. So it's like today, we'll get over to the biceps in a minute. I did 15 sets of hard sets of biceps after back. Like, that's a lot of volume. That should be enough to get pretty dang good growth. So here on the rows, I'm like, I'm going to do these true, the bodybuilder style row at this point with the bent over row here. And then people who want to say, well, it's a cheating. Well, it doesn't matter because I do strict rows after, like I do seal rows after. So it's like, let's do the pull-ups. So these I went over and I did 6. So I'm strapping up, right? And we're focusing on, again, getting that stretch. Notice we get the stretch at the bottom. We come all the way down. So we get that full range of motion. So again, if we want to talk about reaching that lengthened position, we're absolutely getting it there. And we're really pushing that lengthened position hard on both the pull-ups and these rows. Okay, and yes, there's a little bit of body English there, right? There's a little bit of body English, but that's never been a problem here. But keeping in mind, then we're doing really super strict rows right after. So we're getting both. So it's that case of, are we hitting a couple different angles? Are we getting a bigger movement than a smaller movement? Hey, then are we getting isolateral work? So it's really, we're getting everything that we could possibly want for back. Now, my back is probably my strongest body part. People say that in my calves, right? But it doesn't mean I want to neglect it. So we're going to come in, we're going to hit it from all the angles. And then we have pullovers on the chest day, chest and tricep day, lots of pullovers. Those work lats. So my back volume is pretty good. Obviously, arms and shoulders are going to get more. Because again, what are we doing with all this? Well, we end up doing 15 sets of biceps after. This all works biceps, so we need to be aware of that. If you did nothing but all this stuff, your biceps would grow all this back work. They just wouldn't be anywhere near optimal. Okay, but they do affect it, and the pull-ups even more so. So after that, I did seal rows. I went up on these too, and yeah, I only did 6 reps. I picked a weight, I can only do 6. I've been doing 10s with these, but with 30 less pounds, right? So I went up 30 pounds, went from 175 up to 205, and I was able to get 6s. Obviously, I'm failing at 6, but it works well. Same thing with the dumbbell rows. I took these up to 8s. But these are limit sets. So again, what do we get here? On this, I do go the other route. Like, I go all the way up to the armpit with this strict exercise, full range of motion. So we get the stretch at the bottom, we bring it all the way up to the armpit. Okay, so this is what we want to see on the dumbbell row. We're going to get them take this dumbbell movement that has the potential for the most range of motion, and then we're just going to work all of it, right? Going to work all of it. So again, 4 very different angles for the back, because we have the pull-ups as always first for the lats, and then this hits the rest of the back. But keep in mind that upper back area is going to get hit real hard if I start doing shoulders twice a week. Plus, look at my shoulder volumes are high. And the same thing, we come in and do like 6 different shoulder exercises. But then I'm going to do it, maybe twice a week. which means overhead pressing with a big barbell may be out because I do all that heavy incline work on chest day. So I might just do some dumbbell stuff in place of that. So that's going to probably be true pump days for those 2 days. Right. But again, we'll still do upright rows and some dumbbell overhead pressing, maybe some Arnold presses or some seated presses. But I don't need the barbell incline. I've got, or the barbell overhead. We'll talk about that later. I'm pushing incline bench really hard. And I think that covers that. But with these dumbbell rows, again, the idea, we try to get a nice long range of motion. I think this shows here I'm definitely getting leaner because we're seeing the hamstrings, we're seeing the calves here. And this is, again, the worst position because, again, my loose skin, the body fat I still have there, this is not a good position. Really, that's getting tighter. So really, I just have to keep burning the fat off that love handle and flank area. And I think as that gets leaner, we're pretty well sorted, right? Because this is the most awkward position you could about be in with a camera there, and it actually doesn't look horrible. So making progress there. And again, people have to remember I used to be like 320 pounds or something like that. I didn't even weigh at that time. It's just an estimate. I know it was over 300 though. So then we come over to all the curls. The curls, we're going to go stricter. So I did a little bit of cheat curls. I'm like, I'm not liking that. Let's take this back down. Let's focus on full range of motion, right? A good lockout, no swinging of the torso. But notice we have the wrist cocked back so that we get at the top of the wrist cocked back, we keep tension at the top while still bringing it up towards the face, which we would normally lose that tension if we did a wrist curl. Take that stress off the wrist, but we also lock out at the bottom. So I go into full extension of the elbow, right? And then we curl all the way up to the face. So we take the bicep through the longest range of motion possible at both joints. Keep in mind it's a biarticulated muscle. That little bit of shoulder extension, that first 30 degrees, absolutely is part of the function of the bicep. Obviously, its primary job is flexion of the elbow. So again, I'm trying to lock that out. And again, it's a lock of where my elbows go. So some people note it's not 100, it's not exactly perfect 180 degrees, but I can't. That's not how my arms work. So again, focusing on getting the longest range of motion possible on this. I mean, obviously not rotating crazy far forward because at a certain point that's not bicep working anymore, past 30 degrees. But we're definitely getting that 30 degree part. So again, nice big heavy strict curl, right? Going to be strict. I feel like I get more in my biceps with these, so I'm trying to do that more and more again. So drop the weight back down, go strict. Dumbbell curls I feel like can be a hair looser, but it's still strict. Notice my torso's not really moving, but I don't mind it swinging back. So same thing here. All right, we're going into that hammer grip because that is one of the functions of the bicep so that we get that full movement. This is working everything possible, right? In this case now we definitely are working all possible functions of the bicep through the longest range of motion that we can by bringing it up to the face. Same thing, ended up doing 10s. These are all weights I can handle right at 10 reps. So I'm picking these weights based upon this. And I adjust the tempo as I get further into set to make sure it's got to be right about failure, right at those points. So again, your tempo can affect that a little bit. I mean, we're still moving it fairly quickly. I'm not slowing it down a lot. But I am controlling it to make sure that we pretty much get there, that we're very, very close to failure, if we don't hit it. So again, it's my second exercise for biceps. So here's what I ended up doing. I do 5 different exercises for 3 sets each on biceps. So I look at this and go, look, all that pulling definitely helps some with biceps. But then we come in and just hammer them with 15 sets, quality sets, good solid isolation work, hitting every real angle possible, right? So especially the first 2 exercises, and then we come in and we isolate the 2 other extremes. So the preacher curl and the incline curl, they're both linked in position, but they're opposites because of the shoulder position. So it absolutely works different parts of it. So on the preacher curls, I'm trying to go to my lockout and pause it. Most of the reps I'm trying to come to a stop and then pausing a lot of them. And the ones I really stop for a second or two, you'll realize that is as far as my elbows go. So I'm trying to bring it down and then stretch it and then come from a dead stop back up. So again, working those lengthened positions. Same thing here. These are right at roughly 10 reps, and some of them you can see actually failed. I got a 10th rep and then failed. So what I'm doing on these two is I get close to 10 to make sure that sometimes I slow it down, squeeze it a little harder, knowing that's going to force me into muscle failure. All right, because again, and the rep's really hard, and then I hold it for just a brief second. There's no way I'm getting another rep. We finished. So again, part of what I'm doing. So again, lower biceps get worked very effectively here, extra brachialis work. I think for me, I think forearm work, I might have to fit it in on some of the shoulder days. But yeah, we still need some extra forearm work. Again, making sure that they're on point. My forearms are actually pretty decent. But, you know, we've got to look at overall proportions to things on the torso. But at least the brachialis does get worked on this. That is a point of contention with data as to why that extra muscle growth on the MRI occurs on the preacher curl. Some people are saying, well, it could be because of the brachialis, you know, just biomechanically, and that's okay. It's okay. So even if we get that here, the incline curl kind of does the other also. So again, in this case, like our elbows are way out in front of the torso. The incline curl, they're way back behind. So we have the shoulders in a different position, right? So even though these are both movements that stretch us at the bottom, the strength curve in the setup is very, very different. It's very, very different. So again, this is a good combination too. You know, I always tell people the barbell curls are the good base builder. But I mean, if you had to pick two smaller movements, sorry, I'm running into issues with that hitting the thing on the way back down. But if you were to pick two, smaller movements to do, these would technically work all the angles, really. Right? We were working two vastly different angles. So these complement each other. Preacher curls and incline curls are a great complement. Of course, incline curls being really old school. This is an old school bodybuilder exercise from back in the day. Again, I'll see experts argue about, how good it is or not, but it's always produced good gains in the lab. It produces good gains in the real world, so we can argue hypothetically all we want about active insufficiency and stuff. The only downside is it can be a little bit of a stress on the shoulders. It's just why when people bring up the laying curls, I'm like, can be hard enough on the shoulders. Why are you trying to do that? It seems ridiculous to me. But again, the same thing with the weight. I'm failing right around 10 reps. The last set, though, you can see I'm really struggling. Didn't even think I was going to get the 10th rep, but I did, and pretty much took me to failure, and I couldn't get another. So again, a lot of these sets are to failure. Most of these sets are within 1 rep of failure, and at least a third of them, at least a third, if not more, are actually to muscle failure. So either way, 15 high quality sets. Then we went to the band curls after. The thing of the band curls, the first set I forgot, I'm trying to slow them down. I went really fast, and then I got like 30 plus reps. And the next 2 sets got right around 20, low 20s, by slowing it down and trying to make sure I squeeze. So when we get to that, the thing is the first set, I keep forgetting I was trying to do that. The second and third, I'm trying to really get the full range of motion to where I went all the way down to the lockout and then bring it up to squeeze it hard at the top so that we get the full range of motion combined with that peak contraction. Because keep in mind, those bands are going to hit you super hard at peak contraction. So trying to make sure I got that on the second and third set. Of course, there I looked. I'm looking pretty jacked there, right? Once we get that pump going from the preacher curls or all that other stuff, then I'm doing these bands. Like, man, now we're starting to look pretty decently aesthetic there. It's coming along. So at this point too, man, I feel like if I just bring those shoulders up and tighten that waistline up, and I don't even need the waist so much smaller, I can build more ab. I just need that flank area. I need to get leaner, and I need to burn that fat off the flank and love handle. Notice that goes down when my carbs are really low, but it's also affected by cortisol. I had a really stressful month last month that started coming up. So I'm thinking now that some of that's down, I'm taking some of the cardio out. The cortisol may go down. All right, stress will go down, adding a little bit of carbs, keeping that protein high. I'll see if we can get that under control. But yeah, overall, if that flank area was just way tighter, I would already be kind of almost where we want to be, right, when you see this. So I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.